So I'm going to try and build the squad to survive in the Premier League, but the budget there, it's going to be that.
Here we go again.
Now, to get this done, we're using the fantasy draft element of Football Manager, which does leave us with a lot of players to choose from, although they may not be the best. And we've got to be realistic here, because players like Callum Hudson-Odoi, they're just not going to be there because his value is 10 million, which is the entire budget. Now, there is players as cheap as 27,000, 50,000, 100,000 to help us bulk out the squad, but we're going to have to be clever and choose which players are worth spending the most money on. Now, what makes this harder is there's actually some good players here for 10 million. Like, I take Schleidel up all day long. I mean, geez, I could even do things with Wout Weghorst. However, they are all 10 million, which means all these players here are kind of out the equation, so I better just stick a filter on. So what I'm going to do, so don't get tempted, is change the max value. So I'm going to drop that right down, and then I'm just going to go for players 2.5 max. These boys, believe it or not, will actually be the superstars of the team. So let's just find a name somewhere that we all can recognise. And we're left with players like Moussa Sissoko, formerly of Tottenham, young Liverpool player Tyler Morton, who hasn't broken through yet, and former Liverpool shithouse Dejan Lovren. That's the sort of level we're at. I'm thinking if we're going to survive, we know what FM's like. We need to score goals. So I'm going to spend 2.5 million on a striker. So off to the filters we go. We're going to put a striker in and let's see what comes up. And these are my highest valued strikers. There isn't actually anyone at 2.5 million. Caleb Ekuban could be handy. He's got good acceleration, good pace. And someone like Ricardo Pepe, I'm sure he's just been linked to West Ham. But I'm going to take a punt on the pace of Myron Boadu to be my advanced forward. However, as I stroll down, I noticed some random potential bargains. I can't believe Paco Alcacer is only 29. But better still, as I stroll down in the £1 million zone, we've got a couple of wonder kids here in the £1 million draft. You've got Makoku, who's valued at £1 million, but just above him is Omega Luke's favourite, Big Samu Omodian. He's got to come in, right? 6'4". So I've got two strikers. My plan is to go back 3-4-1-2, something like that. So let's get into centre back. We've spent 3.25 million on two players. So I changed my filters up again. We're going to go for centre backs, and I'm going to drop this down and see what bargains I can get for £1 million. And then I thought, let's get a bit more funky. I want my middle centre back to be the dominant one, so I'm not bothered about how fast he is. Therefore, I'm just going to look for players with heading, positioning, concentration, strength, and jumping reach. And there was none for £1 million. So back to the drawing board. I dropped the 15 to 14 attribute level, and we've got some. So this clutch of centre backs are going to be pretty strong in what we're after, and I am familiar with a couple of them. So Mitrovic comes in. He's got everything I need from a middle centre back. Now I've got my rock solid centre back. I'll change it up for the other ones, and I'll take strength and jumping reach out, and I'll add a bit of acceleration and pace, and hopefully we can find some. Dropping the attribute range down one led me to a good clutch of players. Costas Manolas, he'll do. How about Kylian Sedilia for 900? After 5 picks now, I'd spent over half my budget, so I need to get a bit funky. What I'm looking for now is a couple of wing backs, and I don't want too much. I just want lightning pace and crossing, I think. Now, I'll take away the lightning pace, but crossing of 18, Borna Souza? Yes. So I've got my left back, I just need my right side now. I'm going to start a bit further down to see if there's any real bargains down here that we recognise. What Z-Fuck does give me the pace and the acceleration, but it doesn't give me the crossing. He's a maybe. In fact, let's bring it in. Let's pick the attributes. So we'll take all these out because these are the centre-back ones, and then we'll add in crossing and just see what brings up. And we'll go to 15. You never know. Right, so these bunch here, I've got 15 crossing. Right-hand side. Japanese boy seems to be pretty handy with crossing. Him as well. He's got jumping reach, fitness, crossing. He's not exactly fast though. What's going on in Japan? They seem to be creating some quality wing backs. They're not quite floating my boat, so I'm going to add pace in as well, but we'll drop the range down to 13. Right, now we've got a decent bunch, haven't we? And I've used this player in the past. He's got acceleration, pace, and crossing. He is the boy. And the best thing about him is, he is only 250 grand. Yes. Now that had left me with just £3 million. And this current squad looked like that. We've got the defence sorted and 2 strikers. So we need an entire midfield and a goalkeeper and the bench for 3 million. So I started looking in the bargain range of 250. Picked up Zion Suzuki from a goalkeeper. For midfield, I took up Stefan Bajcetic and 36-year-old Brazilian Luis Gustavo, 37-year-old Papa Diop, and the lost enigma that is Ravel Morrison. This meant I had my first team squad, and what an interesting bunch it was. So I've got my first 11, and now I need to bulk it up, and I've got £1 million to get a squad. All I want is a bench, really. So what? 7 players divided by 1 million is Steiner math. I actually think the first 11's all right. The strength's definitely the defence. That is good, and the strikers are good. The midfield, by the end of it, looking for wing-back cover, I was completely out of money, so I had to get Sohari in, who is, yep. And after that, I'd completely blown my budget, and he had 60,000 to spend, and it would have to be one of these 3. Noah, Hamish, or Florin. All of which are shocking. That is a squad that is going to attempt to stay in the Premier League. It's a bit unbalanced, isn't it, with strikers all over the place, but we'll see what we can do. There's greyed out players because I didn't even have enough players to fill a normal squad. Now when we get to it, it's going to look something like that. What I've got to do now is, as I move a couple of players around, what I've got to do now is move this entire team into the main game, pick a Premier League team to destroy, and then try and survive. Seems only fair. Now to move all these players over, you'll notice I've got the in-game editor turned on. That's the way we're going to do it. So that's like a little telltale if someone's trying to fraud you. This glorious Aston Villa squad will now be decimated and replaced with ours. Now that's all the players loaded into the squad, which means Villa's squad is absolutely ginormous, but we're going to sort that out shortly. But this is quite funny. When you go to my chosen tactic and you press quick pick, none of my players make the starting 11, and one or two of them are on the bench. So now I need to go through each standard Villa player, let's say Boubacar Kamara, and I need to just move him somewhere, and what we're going to do is I'm just going to release him, I think. There you go, released and instantly wanted by Bayern. So I'll do that for the rest of them. I'll select them all. Aston Villa will have to pay 250 million in compensation, and that leaves us with our small underdog squad. Now when I go to quick pick, my boys have to go in the team. The players that I picked for the bench were that small, the database didn't even pick them up. Now, bizarrely, in the season preview, we are 16th. I thought we'd be rock bottom. Also, bizarrely, I've jumped back to the year 2023, and I've no idea how I've done that. But to be honest, I can't see how it matters, really. Few questions. Can we resurrect the career of Ravel Morrison? Will Big Samu and Myron score the goals to keep us up? And just how badly will we do with our £10 million super squad? Super? So, in one of our very few wins at the early part of the season, Luis Gustavo, our veteran midfielder, got an injury out of nowhere. And after that, he decided he was going to retire. And it's fair to say the first half of the season was pretty brutal. We were on the brink of qualifying for the Conference League, but the Premier League, that was a different story. We're sat in the relegation spots. Probably time to change this up a bit. Let's go a bit more narrow. Now, despite Ravel Morrison's best efforts, the man scored twice here against Everton in a big home win. And Omradiran was good as well. He had a decent season. As did our first round draft pick, Bodu. See, those boys did well, 18 goals, 17 goals and 8 goals respectively. And as far as assists go, our wingbacks did great, 12 for CK and 8 for Sousa. But that's where the good news ends, as Aston Villa are relegated with just 25 points. We tried a 5-3-2, a 4-2-4, we just couldn't get it going. The £10 million super squad just wasn't quite enough. We are getting used to failing these challenges. I guess it makes it a little bit more easy to swallow the fact that I chose Aston Villa to do it with. It does show some players can rise above though. Samu was fantastic with 15, 18 overall. And eyebrows may have been raised when I chose Myron Bodu as my first draft pick, but he paid me back with 17. And the fact that Ravel Morrison had a decent season with 8 has given me an idea for a new type of video. We kind of rescued him. We rescued his career. But overall, it's another failure. We busted it.